So, Alexander Ovechkin has just broken the NHL all-time scoring record with his 895th goal. Amazing. Wow. How did he do it? This is what a video like this is all about. The reason I'm making this too is because if you try to search up on Google how to shoot in hockey, you're going to find plenty of answers, plenty of coaching videos, plenty of articles explaining different techniques of shooting and ways behind that. But if you're to try to search up how to score like Alexander Ovechkin or Ovechkin goal scoring patterns or anything else, you search up every other player too. Do you actually find in-depth analyses like this one, or do you just see highlights and one-off plays and him breaking the record as being an all-around ceremony and maybe him winning the Stanley Cup too and lifting it for the first time? All you see when you search up something like that is highlights and that's it. Maybe one-off plays. Maybe you get one video here and there, like what my friends at Train 2.0 do with the Patterns of the Pros analysis, which this is an extension of that. And I've just taken it to a further extreme by looking at now hockey's greatest goal scorer. Every single goal is in this video and in this analysis. I don't think anyone else has done something like this. And why don't we just jump right into it? I'm going to define the patterns that I saw first and go over some examples with some on ice demonstration for the base, 80% of the patterns that he uses. After that, we're going to go over specific numbers for his goal scoring patterns and also have separate breakdowns season by season. In addition to figuring out if this was only due to Ovechkin scoring and who helped him primarily, and that would be an analysis of the primary assists. We will explore also if this was any different in the playoffs. So I have a full breakdown and looked at every goal that he scored in the playoffs too. From all this actual analysis and actual breakdowns, looking at the real numbers, that now we can actually find some takeaways and learn to score like hockey's greatest goal scorer. He is a demonstration, he is living proof of these scoring patterns working. And I will also acknowledge, anything that potentially might be missing from my analysis. But again, the real point is that people actually look into this and people actually do a full breakdown as in depth as possible as this. I've spent the last many months preparing for this, thinking about what the patterns actually are, looking at every single goal. And this is probably about my fifth or sixth time doing that, where I go and look at every single one of his 895 or however many he's at this point at the time that the video's coming out. It has been a grind. I've been doing it like every day. It feels like forever at this point. But now I'm ready to present it to you all. So let's define the patterns, and for that we need to look to the end before going forwards once again. So I have counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 distinct patterns for scoring goals that Alex Ovechkin uses in his entire career. You have the one-timer, the catch and release, the catbird seat, the left wing drive wide, the shot off of a face-off, breakaway, right wing floater, tip/redirect, net front scramble, and anything extra that doesn't fit into these categories. I should actually start with the catbird seat first, which is the face-off dot to the post, a little bit in front of the crease. Then you have the other face-off dot to the post that is equal on both sides. Why is that the case? Well, the physics of the puck and how it bounces around your hockey rink, sometimes the puck will bounce off perfectly perpendicular, there's a mouthful, from behind the net and out to the other side. This presents hot spots in these specific areas, and they're great for scoring goals, whether it's off a pass in tights, like you're very close to the goalie and crease, or you're just in the middle of the zones that are in these spaces. If you were to draw out a puck as you were watching a hockey game, and you were to trace it on a sheet of paper as the puck was going around, you would easily find these two hot spots show up on both sides of the rink. And this is just the physics of the diameter of the rink, or however else you want to call it, like just how everything flows in a game makes it so that these two hotspots are present. Ovechkin is not the only player who has used this. Any other player who has an uptick in scoring very likely uses the catbird seat to score goals, and it's actually a very easy area to do that. When people say to go crash the nets, they are not accurate in this saying because they do not account for the way that the puck bounces off of, other defenders or off the end of the boards or everything else like that. Teams are very good at clearing the front of the net, but they're not very good at clearing the sides of the net, and that's where, most goals end up happening. So that's the catbird seat. One timer, how I define that is the puck touches the stick and is immediately off of it at the same time. You'll see it with his slap shot, but he doesn't always do that wind up. On his 894th goal, for instance, his stick was basically on the ice. It's kind of how the coaches teach to have a quicker release of the shot, although it actually doesn't matter. But for the sake of this specific pattern, the puck is on and off the stick quickly, and it's outside of the perimeter of the catbird seat. Catch and release means that there's at least a 0.5 second to 2, or it's usually no more than 2 seconds, where Ovi will catch the puck and then shoot it after the fact. He might stick handle once or twice, but usually it's no more than once if he does, and he just shoots. Left wing drive wide. So this is similar to how Connor McDavid drives up the right side. Ovi has done this a lot. So he'll be coming up he'll receive a pass off the left wing. He might come to the middle to attack the faceoff dot. Then he'll go out wide by the time he hits the blue line, and then he'll take one or two crosses to the middle. Now, what he does differently than McDavid is that he shoots it. That's pretty much the only difference. Where McDavid beats people wide, Ovi will shoot. And he's done this pattern 66 times with some variation in between. That's pretty much it. As soon as he enters the blue line, he takes one or two, crosses to the middle, boom, wide stance, and then he'll execute variations of the pattern after that. Face-off play. So here's where things get a little nuanced. The puck has to go from the centerman taking the draw, whether it's like a Nick Backstrom or Marcus Johansson or Evgeny Kuznetsov, and it has to go straight to Ovechkin. It's like they're winning it deliberately to him, and then he shoots it on net, whether it's a catch and release or a one-timer. Both of those categories fit into this face-off play. Breakaway. He has to have clearance from the blue line into the net, and there's no defenders in front of him. They could be to the side, like there's a couple breakaways where I counted it, even though the defenders were right next to him, but he would still get in front of them. Right wing floater is very similar to the left wing drive wide, where he will be on the right side this time, take a cross or two to the middle, wide stance, or shot off his inside foot, and then he'll execute variations off of that. Tip/redirect, pretty straightforward. The puck is shot from the point or the wide side. It hits a stick and then it bounces in. Net front scramble. This one has to have at least one shot on net, which means that you get one rebound. That's what qualifies goals into this category. So some goals, he might execute the same catbird seat pattern and variations beyond that in order to crash the net, as some others would say. But if there's at least one shot on net and it hits the goalie and it bounces back to him, that actually counts as a net front scramble. Now, you probably know of a famous, we can actually name the game 3 against Vegas, just utter chaos. Like, that's one of the longer net front scrambles, like, because it is literally a net front scramble play. But anything that's, just one shot on net, that still qualifies as part of this pattern. And then there's an extra category where at least 97 goals as of 23-24 do not fit into a select any of these categories, which honestly is not too much. It is 1 out of 10 that do not fit, but we're not going for absolute 100%. We're trying to look at the 80-20 The 20% or less patterns that give Ovechkin 80% of his results. And if we were to reverse that, 80% of your results comes from 20% of your work. That's literally it's a law of the universe. It's a modification of Pareto's principle. The more you do on one thing, the greater outcome you're going to get in many other things. That's the point of looking at these patterns, folks. So there's the definitions. Why don't we look at some examples? By the way, if you want to look at every single Ovechkin goal with these patterns specifically, you can check out the folder in the description here, and it's going to be attached everywhere you see me from now on, just because we need to get this analysis out there. We need more analyses like this. I would love to do more, not just off of Ovechkin, but of other players and great goal scorers. That way we can determine what is actually most effective and what's getting results in for teams and for specific players. We need to know what's working so that we can actually teach productive stuff and make our players better. That's the whole point behind this, because it is true, especially after looking through this, guys, that some methods work better than others. It is true simultaneously that goal scorers score many ways. But it is also true that they have a select few things that they do with some variation, and that gets most of their outcome. That gets most of their results. And that's what we're looking for. If you want to understand, here's a good book that would help you to understand it quickly. It's called The One Thing. You'll also see that in the description. But it's not more things that get you more results. It's less. It's getting very, very good at select few things with some variation. That's what Ovechkin has demonstrated, and that's the common theme throughout all of this. So let's get into the examples. So this first goal of the year is a good example of a catch and release. You'll notice, even though the puck gets deflected, that he accepts the pass, takes a second to release. It's not an immediate like slap shot or one-timer on net, and then he shoots after the fact. That is a prime example of a catch and release. This next goal is an example of a cat-bird seat. Now, I call it that, and I say it's like, yeah, it's got to be right in front of the crease, and there's some wiggle room for error with some of these definitions, but it has to be like, 90% directionally accurate, which that's what most of these patterns are for anyway. Here's another example of that catch and release. Now, he's outside of the catbird seat, so that doesn't qualify for this, but you'll notice, and he does this like quite a lot, he'll catch the puck, reset his stance a little bit, maybe stick handle if he desires, but catch and release. Pretty basic stuff happens there, but he has to time it up, obviously, with the pass from not just the point, but sometimes he'll get it from down low in the Marcus Johansson spot. Sometimes, as in this case, he'll get it directly across from Nick Backstrom, or in this case, Kuznetsov. And the mechanics behind the shot, what determines a knob side inside edge release or a blade side inside or outside edge release off of all four edges. It's the foot that you end up landing on after you shoot. So in this case, because his right foot is softening and it's dragging a little bit and it goes behind him as the hip drops, all of his weight is now on his left foot, and then it resets to his right foot as he bounces out and celebrates the goal. So that's an example of a catch and release, and that's how you differentiate the few edges. Here is an example of a tip redirect. Pretty simple stuff going on here. There's some more. He doesn't make this his specialty, but people have done great tips on hand-eye coordination, and there's some good videos out there about that, which would probably explain it better than me. But one of the things you want to note, and what Pavelski, guys like Pavelski and I think Wayne Simmons and Chris Kreider made pretty good and made a good living off of during their time, is that instead of swatting the puck out of midair, like just straight up and down, you actually want to track it in as it's coming to you and then tip it down as you hit it in midair. And that will actually improve your hand-eye a lot more than just swatting pucks straight up and down. Don't think of it as a straight up and down motion. Think of it as a accepting and cradle and just a literally a redirection. This is an example of a net front scramble where he drives to the net in this case. He doesn't always, do this first, but he's not the last guy to touch the puck until well, in this case, it bounces off a few defenders, but it was credited to him. It should have been TJ Oshie's goal, if I'm being honest, but it still counted towards Ovi here. Actually, this is another case. No, this is a cat bird seat, actually. And the reason for that, instead of it being a net front scramble, even though his teammate is very close to the net right here, he never shot the puck on net. So he got the pass from the far wall, went into the slot, right? And then he gave it over to Ovi. That counts as a catbird seed. That is not a net front scramble, for instance. And the reason, again, it's a catbird seed is because of those hot spots on both sides of the goalpost with a little bit of wiggle room in front of the crease as well. Hot spots for goals, just the way that the puck bounces off of the boards and all that kind of as I already explained. All right, here's your classic one-timer. So in this case, it's a 5-on-3. I'm gonna find a one that's like 5-on-4. Why don't we do that? Here's another one that's even strength. Actually, why don't I point out this? This is an interesting observation I made as I was doing the full analysis, and this is kind of why I labeled things as inside edge backwards and knob said inside edge like solely. I noticed that during even strength, it is less likely for him to do something like this where he's backing up into the one-timer. If he were at even strength on a there we go. On a power play kind of like this, it would be, diagonal coming from the point instead of cross ice as you had with this other example right here. Usually when the puck's coming across the ice, he's not backing up like this. This is a special case where that actually happens. But in a power play sense, when you set up, you get it to Carlson or Green at the points, he is starting to back up as he starts from the top of the circle or a little bit closer to the slots. He'll back up to his office, which I'll draw it out on the screen for you just to have a clear definition of what that looks like. And he backs up as he takes the one-timer. He will do like a backwards corkscrew and set himself up for a much easier one-timer to, take off his stick. So when people say that he's just standing still as he's shooting, that is completely wrong. You will see actually in here, it's very subtle. The camera angle is different, but notice where he starts is, it's above the face-off marks a little bit in the middle of the top of the circle, and when he's taking the shots, he's actually on the other side of those specific hash marks. And sometimes he'll move very little like that. Sometimes he'll move more like what you have with this goal right here with this one-timer. Sometimes he'll move drastically like this, where he's from the slots. Yeah, he's almost at the right wing. He's backing up a lot, and then he'll take the shot after that. I actually like this example because it's more clear and exaggerated, and it'll show you guys the reasoning behind this and how he's able to get so many one-timers off. It's because he doesn't stand still. He's backing up. He might move still, but that doesn't mean he stands still. There's this thing that hockey players do, which is called gliding around, because you're because you're not on ground. You're on ice. It always slips around, and you don't have to always exert 100% effort. Ovi is a clear sign that you don't have to exert 100% effort, or even be in shape for that matter, for just to score goals, because you just need to get open ever so subtly And you might get a, somewhat of a good passer like a Backstrom, like an Ovechkin, like a John Carlson, Mike Green, and they'll find you because you got open. You just move yourself over subtly, and it might be a drastic difference like this where you're maintaining momentum as you carry yourself like this. Yeah, he's maintaining momentum, gets backwards, loads up, coils through with the backwards corkscrew mixed in. That's his secret. He moves backwards. That will change the angle on the goalie and simultaneously make it easier to accept the pass. If you're backing up towards where the puck is going, if you're going towards where the puck is going, literally, that makes it easier to accept passes. And I've talked about this a little bit in my catching passes video, where you literally move your body in the direction of where the pass is going to accept the passes better and to accept them softer. That is what Ovi does on his one-timers. A very, very, very subtle skill that clearly no one has noticed because we're all like, oh, he just stands still all the time. No, he doesn't. You just look at the damn video and he might have moved an inch or two, but that's enough. That is all you need to change the angle on the goalie, to accept the pass easier from the points or from the side or wherever it comes from. And that's how he's able to shoot from everywhere, shoot a one-timer from everywhere and get it off and get it towards the net. That's what makes him produce over 200 one-timers in his career that are goals. Like, it cannot be any more clear than that. That this is his signature, that is 1 out of 4 for total one-timers. It's more like for total one-timers, like 200 over 900 at this point. That's still like two over 9. That's almost still like 1/3. It's just barely under 1/4, like a 1 out of 4 ratio for his goals. 1 out of 4 of his goals are one-timers. It cannot be more clear than this, that the one-timer is king for scoring goals. He's the guy who does it. Anyway, I'll get into the specific numbers like a little bit later, but that's what I get fired up about this, because I literally look at the data, I look at the video, I collect all the notes together, and I make this simple conclusion off of it. Like, you just watch the damn video. You know a little bit about the mechanics and get a little change of perception, but who actually looks at these numbers? It's not enough to just look at the mechanics and make power skating, adjustments off of different things like that. No, you have to look at the totality. You have to look at the end result. Goals are the end result in the success, pyramid for hockey. You're trying to score more goals than the other team. That's the entire point. Well, what scores more goals than the more goals guy? It's the one-timer. So anyway, that's the secret behind, his one-timers, that he actually is moving. You just don't see it, or you don't choose to see it. Here's an example of a breakaway where, technically the other defender on the far side is in line with him, so it kind of goes against the original definition, but he's still it's picking at straws at that point. Most people would define this as a breakaway, even though and then this is an example of a forehand to backhand to forehand move, because he's already ready at his forehand right here. Then he goes backhand, forehand, kind of fakes that way. He steps at the same time that he stick handles, which leads into even more deception. And, that clearly worked because he scored off of that. Okay, here's an example of a forward shot where he ends up shooting off his knob side inside edge foot. This is a forward one-timer. Now, he doesn't have to cock the stick all the way up on this, and yeah, he gets it off and scores. Sometimes he will cock the stick all the way up. You saw a few examples of that. Depending on your definition of it being necessary, I don't know. He does it, and he also doesn't do it. It doesn't matter if you swing all the way up. It also doesn't matter if you swing all the way down like this. But here's an example where he's going forward in this case. And this is kind of what made me start to think about the forwards versus backwards thing a lot more. And he has a lot of like backwards, accepting of the one timers. But okay, here's an example of a right wing floater. Uh, Usually on this pattern, he's coming up the right side to the middle, whereas this could maybe not count as something like that because he starts from the left side right here because that's where he's started coming from. He actually in this play, I cut off the full play, but he held on to the puck for a significant amount of time and just went up, decided to go up the right side. So I just placed it inside of the right wing floater pattern. But really, like, he just goes up and he does some variation of a shot. In this case, he shoots through the screen after faking it. I don't account for these little nuances that he pump fakes the shots. And there's a reason for that is because again you need the base pattern first before you can add variations to it. So the right wing floater is literally just goes up the right side, a couple crosses to the middle, and then shoots. This one also qualifies as that because he's on the right side and then shooting. So not everything has to be equal. By the way, this is an example of a face-off play because it went. You can see it went straight back to him, even though, right, there was a massive delay. This is in slow mo, but there was a massive delay from when the centerman won the draw to when Ovi won the puck. But because it still went straight back to him and he shot it immediately after, that's what qualifies as part of the face-off pattern. And then we have extras. I put any empty net goal as an extra because there's no goalie in the nets. Most of his other patterns don't really matter. Although, if you do look at his empty net goals individually, you will see things like left wing drive wide or breakaway or right wing floater or, there's actually a couple one timers in there or catch and releases actually that are part of empty netter. But that's like picking at straws, meeting with the devil in the details. Like, you don't need to go that deep into it. Here's an example of a catch and release. Now, he doesn't too often do. In this case, he would actually do a one timer, but he didn't notice that he didn't back up enough. He's kind of like standing relatively still, although once again he starts from right here on the face-off dot, moves a little bit to the other side of the dot hash marks, and that is enough to change the angle on nets to obviously score and throw off the goalie. So because the puck goes from high to low in this case, from Carlson to Ovi, or the Mike Green Carlson spot to Ovi, he's usually backing up. If it goes from low to high, like it goes from Backstrom to Carlson and then to Ovi, he will start by going in kind of like a little circle like this. And you kind of see that also from guys like Line and Stamkos. But I want to get a shot where the puck goes from low to high. Here's a breakaway, by the way. Shot on the backhand. You can look at more of this. That's a technical net front scramble. Here's an empty netter. Here's a right wing floater. Like, this is a better example of a right wing floater because he's just shooting it after entering the zone on the right side. Crosses to the middle, wide stance, and then shots could be a slap shot like this, or off of like a catch release, or the pump fake that we saw too. Like, most of it pretty similar. There's your classic one timer. He's backing up. Now, another specific pattern description is I named a Draisaitl spot. This means that it's outside of his office. There's actually a little zone that's from about here and here. That's a hot spot for a lot of Draisaitl goals. He will take his one timers like specifically from there, but he's usually below the goal line, and then you have, instead of far wall to top points in an umbrella style, McDavid will be circling around, and then that will because there's extra movement that confuses defenders, which leaves Draisaitl wide open, and then he's in that little office. So there's a distinction for that specifically. He only has 3 goals like that, so it's not very many. It doesn't matter too much, but there's a difference in systematic structure, you could say. I want to get one where they go from low to high. There's a Cat Birdseed example. Here's a right wing floater with a fake shot. again, reminder once again, you want the overall pattern down first as a base foundation before you add variations like this. That way you have like, your base fundamental mechanics or patterns already locked into you and positional if thens and then you can add little variations here and there because again, if you don't have your foundation set up beforehand, you have a crackling base, like literally. Here's a low to high play where Backstrom goes low, Kuznetsov feeds Ovi, and then he will set up for a catch and release shots. Usually he does not one time this, but if he sees it go low, he will actually track down lower to then either do a catch and release or a cat bird seat shot on net. I'm not gonna to be clear, I'm spreading out the catbird seed definitions and just classifying it all into one because yes, there are one timers technically within a catbird seed. There are catch and releases technically within a catbird seed. But compared to the great eights one timer or the classic one that we know from him from everywhere outside of it, whether it's in his office, from the point, from the slot, from the dry side office, like right on the goal line, like that is not the same one timer as being in tight to the net. That is why I named it something different. So just there's that clarification there. But yeah, this is a classic low to high play. So if he's out further like this, like towards his office, towards the top of the circle, he will catch and release it. If he's closer in tight to the goalie and to the net, he will just shoot it on that one timer case. Even though, once again, it's called a catbird seat because of how tight he is to the net. Game 2 against Vegas in the finals in 2018 was an example of that, where yes, it was a one timer, but it was not. That doesn't count as a one timer pattern. That counts as a catbird seat pattern. Okay, what else are we missing? We went over one timer, catch and release, catbird seats. Net front scramble is pretty self explanatory. I'm just going to take a look at some of the final numbers. That way I know what I'm talking about. Left wing driveway. We haven't gone over a few of those examples, so why don't we have to look back towards the beginning of his career because he had a significant drop where his career is at this point. Mostly because the rest of the league has gotten faster. I don't think he's like I wouldn't say he's gotten like slower necessarily. I mean, he has more body fat on him. There's without a question. He loves his Subway and Cheetos and beer. Like, he's packed a ton of weight on him at this point. Okay, I love this example by the way. But like maybe he's gotten slower. It's hard to prove because we don't have the data. So you can't prove it if you like don't have it out there. It's more just a guess at that point. And you do have some of the eye tests like, oh, he looks slower, but okay, how much slower if we're to be like actually accurate and stay things because he's still skating around 20 miles an hour sometimes. Not all the time, not like a McKinnon or a McDavid or even a Matthews to a degree, but he's not like slow. So again, I'm just asking, and another common theme of a video like this, let's be more fucking specific with what we're talking about. Anyway, here's a left wing drive wide. One of my favorite examples, and I use this on a lot of my videos. Okay, so he'll take the pass. In this case, he takes the pass. Sometimes, say if he picks up the puck from the defending blue line, like so his blue line for his goalie, then he will do across the middle, very similar to how McDavid does it. And then he'll like cross towards the dot and then attack the defender out wide. But here he accepts the pass, takes 1, 2 crosses to the middle, sets up a shot in a wide corkscrew, and then shoots through the screen off of that knob side inside edge. And as you can see, I count it as a shot through screen and knob side inside edge, and as well as the left wing drive wide. So he doesn't necessarily need to hold on to the puck the entire time he's driving up the left wing, but the pattern still remains that after he enters the offensive zone, he gets into the stance like this, and then shoots or makes a move like through the legs. Like he's done tons of variations, again, because he's mastered the pattern first, then added variation on top of that. If you don't master the basics, you cannot add more fun or more variety off of that. Even though, yes, variety is the spice of life, and scoring many different ways is what you need to do. What are those, things tie back to a base few areas first and then variation on top of that. So that is an example of a left wing drive wide. I think we have all our definition. Talk about one timer, catch release, face off, left wing drive wide, extras. He will still have goals from his office that are part of the extra category. But let's say there was an example earlier in the 24-25 season where that was the case. He held onto the puck for a solid 3 seconds before he shot it. That does not count as a catch and release. He actually had more pump fakes in there. I wanted to catch it as that. And actually, you will see nuanced points off of most of these goals that don't necessarily look like they qualify as part of the pattern. But again, to establish it, most of these goals are going to fit into the patterns because of their first little setup. It matters the setup, like everything that happens beforehand, and then the end results pattern after the fact. Hockey has a lot of variety. We need to acknowledge that, and I want to acknowledge that again too. But much like we have with base mechanics and base patterns, everything falls back to a base foundation first. That's the point. I cannot say that enough. You're probably going to hear me say that for over an hour, just repeating that, but it needs to be driven in because we're looking at variety and all that. So in the case where there's an extra, like, and you see the extra face, there's goals from his office. We'll be able to see them individually. Penalty shots are also part of the office. There's a non-cherry pattern in here, which basically means he's cutting to the middle, and that is in there because he doesn't. Usually, that's part of the left wing drive wide, the non-cherry pattern. But in a case where it's an extra, I remember he accepted the pass in the middle of the rink before driving wide, and they were already in the zone, so that doesn't technically count as a left wing drive wide. He's just cutting to the middle in that case. All right, now let's count. That works terrifically. Every season by season numbers that we had. Originally I was gonna do the numbers on a sheet of paper, all these massive sheets of paper, and that didn't work out too well because I started forgetting which goals were which, and I was like, all right, time for a recount. So that's where count number 5 came in, and just to make sure I got everything correct. But there is some data on here that I want to keep, as opposed to what's already on the other videos. There, that's a little better. Now we pull up Premiere. We're going to go season by season, make it very quick right here. So, first up, 05-06. We need to know the statistical totals for everything. So let's go through it all. 2005-2006. Ovechkin had 7 one-timers, 6 of which were from his office, 1 from the slot. 7 were also knob side, inside edge, backwards, and 5 of those were on the power play. Catch and release, he had 4, 2 from the right side, 2 from his office, 2 were knob side, inside edge shots, and 1 was on the power play. Cat birdseed, he had 5 of those, 3 from his office, 1 was a forehand to backhand, 2 were on the power play. Right wing floater, he had 3 of those, no specific pattern defined. Net front scramble, he had 7, 2 of which were on the power play. Left wing drive wide, he had 10 of those, 2 of which were a forehand backhand forehand move, 1 was a backhand move, 6 were a blade side inside edge shot, 1 was a shot through screen, and 1 was a non-cherry pattern execution. He had 4 breakaways, 2 of which were a backhand to forehand move, 2 of which were a forehand backhand forehand move, and there's 1 extra in there. 2 goals were off of a face-off, 1 from both sides of the rink on the right wing and the left wing, and 1 was a redirect on the power play. And what is the other numbers I'm looking for? Well, he was using a CCM stick that season, That was the only time he used a P92 curve. He had, what was it? His 52 goals that season were 22% of his team's total 237 goals that season. So I actually counted all the stats he was using with CCM and the specific curves and percentage of team goals, and just seeing how overall effective this guy is. 2006, 2007. He had 2 one-timers, both from his office. One was a knob-side inside edge backward shot, and both were on the power play. 4 catch-and-release shots, 2 from his office, 2 were from a knob-side inside edge shot. 2 of those were from the right wing, and 1 was on the power play. Cap Birdsey, he had 9, 5 of which were from his office, 3 were on the power play. Right wing floater, he had 7 of those, 2 of which were shot via knob side inside edge release. One of those was a shot through screen. He also had 1 on a blade side inside edge shot. Net front scramble, he had 10 of those, 4 of which were on the power play. Left wing drive wide, he had 5 of those, 1 non-cherry, 1 knob side inside edge shot, 3 blade side inside edge shots, and 1 was a shot through screen. Tip/redirect, he had 2, both on the power play, and 8 extra pattern shots. 2 from his office, 2 were from a pass, which basically means that he was passing, but it deflected off of other players and ended up in the net. 2 empty net goals, and 3 of those extra goals were on the power play. Also, in 2006-2007, he was using CCM with his new Ovechkin Pro curve. His 47 goals that season were 20% of his team's total 235 goals. 2007-2008, he had 5 one-timer goals, 4 from the office, 1 from the slots. 3 used a knob-side inside edge backwards mechanic. 2 used a knob-side outside edge forward mechanic. And 2 one-timers were on the power play. He had 15 catch and release shots that season, 10 of which from the office, 2 from the slot, 1 from the point, 2 from the right side. 6 used a knob-side inside edge mechanic. 1 used a knob-side outside edge. 4 used a blade side inside edge mechanic, and actually that's 5 because an anchor release is part of the blade side inside edge shot, so we gotta correct that to 5. And 6 catch and release shots were on the power play. He had 12 catbird seed goals, 6 from the left side, 4 were on the power play. Net front scramble, he had 6 of those, 2 of which were on the power play. Left wing drive wide, he had 9 of those, 3 were a non-cherry pattern. 5 were shot knob side inside edge. 2 were shot blade side inside edge. 3 were shot through a screen. And 1 was on the power play. Tip/redirect, he had 2. Breakaway, he had 2 of those, 1 of which were a forehand backhand forehand move. Face-off goals, he had 1 from the left wing, 3 from the right side for a total of 4, and all of them were on the power play. And 8 extra goals with no defined pattern. 1 from the office, 3 empty nets. 1 was a shot through a screen, and 3 of these were on the power play. He was using CCM that season, the only time that he was using a white stick, and his 65 goals that season were 27% of his team's total 242 goals, which is the highest out of all the seasons so far. 2008-2009. He had 5 one-timers, 3 from the office, 1 from the slot, 1 from the point, 5 of which used a knob-side inside edge backward shot, so all of his one-timers used this mechanic. 4 of these one-timers were on the power play. He had 10 catch and release shots, 6 from the office, 2 from the slot, 1 from the point, 2 from the right side. 3 used a knob-side inside edge shot, 1 used a knob-side outside edge, 5 used a blade side inside edge, and 4 of these catch and releases were on the power play. He had 9 catbird seat goals, 7 from the left side or office, and 4 were on the power play. Net front scramble, he had 4 of those, 3 of which were on the power play. Left wing drive wide, he had 7, 1 was a non-cherry pattern, 4 was a knob side inside edge shot, 1 was a blade side inside edge shot. 4 of these left wing drive wides were shot through a screen, and 1 was on the power play. Right wing floater, he had 7 of them, 4 of which used a knob side inside edge shot, 1 used a blade side outside edge shot, 1 used a knob side outside edge shot. 2 of these were shot through a screen. 1 of these right wing floaters, he had a forehand backhand move, and 1 of these was scored on the power play. He had 2 breakaways, 1 using a forehand backhand forehand move, 1 using a backhand to forehand move. He had 4 face-off goals, 1 from the left side, 3 from the right. All of these face-off goals were on the power play. He also had 1 tip-in goal and 11 extras that were not part of any pattern, 2 from the point, 5 empty nets. 1 pass, and 2 of these extras were on the power play. He was using a Bauer stick this year with CCM gear. His 56 goals that season were 20% of his team's total 272 goals. 2009-2010. He had 12 one-timer goals, 8 from the office, 4 from the point. 3 used a knob side inside edge backwards mechanic. 7 used a knob side inside edge mechanic. 2 used a knob side outside edge forward mechanic. 8 of these one-timers were on the power play. 7 catch and releases, 2 from his office, 1 from the point, 4 from the right wing. 5 used a knob side inside edge. 1 used a blade side outside edge. 1 used a blade side inside edge. 3 of these catch and releases were on the power play. He had 5 catbird seed goals. 3 from his office. 1 was a forehand to backhand goal, and 1 of these was on the power play. Net front scramble, he had 4. 1 was on the power play. Left wing drive wide, he had 1 non-cherry, 1 forehand backhand forehand move. Knob side inside edge shot, he had 1 of those, and blade side inside edge, he had 1 of those. Right wing floater, he had 2. 1 was shot through a screen, and the other was a knob side inside edge shot. Breakaway, he had 4. 1 was a forehand backhand forehand move. 1 was a forehand backhand move. Face-offs, he had 3 from the left wing, 1 from the right side for a total of 4, and 1 of these was on the power play. And he had 8 extra goals, 5 being an empty net, 1 being a penalty shot, which was a forehand backhand move, and 1 from his office. 2 of these extras were on the power play. He went back to CCM that season. His 50 goals that year were 16% of his team's total 318 goals, as the Caps won the President's Trophy and dominated offensively. 2010-2011, he had 4 one-timers, 3 from his office, 1 from the point. 3 used the knob side inside edge backwards mechanic. 1 used a knob side inside edge. 3 of these one-timers were on the power play. Catch and release, he had 5. 4 from his office, 1 from the slots. Knob side inside edge, 1. Blade side outside edge, 1. Blade side inside edge, 3. 2 of these catch and releases were on the power play. Catbird seat, he had 3. 2 from his office, 1 was on the power play. He had 2 net front scramble goals. He had 7 left wing drive wide goals. 2 were non-cherry pattern, 4 were shot through screen. 1 was a forehand backhand forehand move. 5 of these goals were a knob side inside edge release, and 1 was a blade side inside edge release. Right wing floater, he had 1 shot blade side inside edge, and the other was shot forehand backhand. Tip redirect, he had 1. He had 8 extra pattern goals. 4 were an empty net. 1 was a penalty shot, which was a forehand backhand forehand move. 1 was from his office. 1 was a pass, and 1 was on the power play. His 32 goals that year with his CCM stick were 14% of his team's total 224 goals, and that was the lowest percentage that he contributed to this point in his career. 2011-2012, he had 12 one-timer goals, 5 from his office, 1 from the point, 3 from the slot, 3 from the right wing. 4 used a knob side inside edge backwards mechanic. 6 used a knob side inside edge mechanic. 1 used a knob side outside edge forward mechanic. 1 used a blade side inside edge mechanic. 5 of these one-timers were on the power play. Catch and release, he had 6. 2 from his office, 1 from the slot, 1 from the right wing, 2 from the point. Knob side inside edge, he had 3. Blade side inside edge, he had 3. Power play, 4 of these were catch and releases. Net front scramble, he had 7, 2 of which were on the power play. Left wing drive wide, he had 5. 3 were shot through a screen. 1 was a backhand forehand move. 1 was a forehand backhand forehand move. 3 were a knob side inside edge release. Tip redirect, he had 1. Catbird seat, he had 2. 1 from his office, 1 was on the power play. Extra, he had 3. 1 was a pass, and 1 was on the power play. His 38 goals that year with his Bauer stick were 17% of his team's total 222 goals. 2012-2013, he had 8 one-timers. 8 were from his office. This is where things start to pick up for his one-timers, this season specifically. Knob side inside edge backwards, 5. Knob side inside edge, 3. Power play, 8. All one-timers from this season were on the power play. Catch and release, 5. 3 from his office, 2 from the right side. 4 were a knob side inside edge release. 1 was a blade side inside edge release. 3 of these catch and releases were on the power play. He had 2 face-off goals, both from the right wing. He had 1 right-wing floater, which was shot through a screen and off of bladeside inside edge. 6 catbird seed goals, 5 from his office, 4 were on the power play. He had 2 redirect goals and 6 extra goals. 2 from his office, 2 were an empty net, and 1 was on the power play. With the shortened season, he had 32 goals with a Bauer stick and Bauer sponsored gear. His 32 goals were 21% of his team's total, 149 goals. I am so glad I can finally get rid of this. That's been hanging around all day long. Oh, I still have the other papers to go over, but that's okay. 2013, 2014, 17 one-timers. 15 were from his office. 2 were from the Draisaitl spot. Nopside inside edge backwards. 13. Nopside inside edge. 3. He had 14 one-timer power play goals. 6 catch and release goals. 2 from his office, 3 from the right wing, 1 from the slot. 2 of which used a Nopside inside edge mechanic. Bladeside inside edge, he had 2. Bladeside outside edge, he had 2. 3 of these catch and releases were on the power play. 4 face-off goals, 3 from the right wing, 1 from the... 3 from the left wing, 1 from the right wing, and 3 power play goals off of these face-offs. 2 right-wing floaters, and both used a Nopside inside edge shot. 1 bounced around players, ping-pong. That's what that means. Left wing drive wide, he had 1, and that was a non-cherry pattern. Notice last season, he didn't even use that pattern. Cat birdseed, he had 7, all from his office, and 4 of those were on the power play. Tip redirect, he had 3. He had 1 breakaway, which was a forehand backhand move. He had 5 net front scrambles, 2 of which were on the power play, and 3 extras, which 1 was a pass, 1 was an empty net, and 2 of these extras were on the power play. He was sticking with a Bauer. He had 51 goals that year, which was 22% of his team's total, 235 goals. 2014, 2015, 18 one-timers. All 18 were from his office. 15 of which used a Nopside inside edge backwards mechanic, 3 used a Nopside inside edge mechanic, 1 bounced around players, and 14 were on the power play. Catch and release, he had 9, 6 of which from the office, 2 from the right wing, 1 from the slot. Nopside inside edge, he had 4. Bladeside inside edge, he had 5. And 5 of these catch and releases were on the power play. 4 catbird seeds, all from his office, 3 on the power play. 3 face-off goals, 1 from the left, 2 from the right. Right wing floater, he had 1, which is a forehand backhand move. Left wing drive wide, he had 5, 3 of which used a non-cherry pattern, and he shot through a screen on it. 1 used a McDavid fake, which he was actually stuttering into the goalie, and then before going back to the forehand, I actually remember this now. And 1 of these was on the power play. Tip redirect, he had 2. Breakaway, he had 2. 1 forehand backhand move, 1 forehand backhand forehand move, and 1 of these was on the power play. Net front scramble, he had 5. And 3 goals were extra. 1 was from his office, 2 were empty nets, and 1 was on the power play. His 53 goals that year using a Bauer stick were 22% of his team's total, 242 goals. 2015-2016, 10 one-timers, 7 from his office, 1 Draisaitl spot, 1 right wing, 1 slot, Nopside inside edge backward, 8, Nopside inside edge 2, power play 3, catch and release, he had 9, 6 from the office, 2 from the right wing, Nopside inside edge, he had 6, Bladeside inside edge, he had 2, power play, he had 5 catch and release shots on this, catbird seed, he had 15, and 10 of which were from the office. 5 were on the power play. Face-off, he had 1 goal from the right wing. Left wing drive wide, he had 2. Left wing drive wide, he had 4, 2 of which were a backhand forehand move. 1 was a non-cherry pattern, which was a shot through a screen. 1 tip redirect. Net front scramble, he had 4, 2 of which were on the power play, and 6 extra goals, 2 from his office, 2 were an empty net, and 3 were on the power play. His 50 goals that year using a Bauer stick were 20% of his team's total, 252 goals. 16-17, 11 one-timers, 10 from his office, 1 from the point. That sounds like a lot until you realize he scored 33 goals that year. 9 of which were Nopside inside edge backward. 2 were Nopside inside edge, 1 bounced around players, and 9 were on the power play. 9 catch and release goals, 9 from his office. They were all from his office. Also, they were all on the power play. He had Nopside inside edge were 8, not a Bladeside inside edge, he had 1. Catbird seed, he had 1 from his office. Breakaway, he had 2. One was a forehand backhand forward move. One was a forehand backhand move. Right wing / floater, he had 2. One was a blade side outside edge shot, and one was a knob side inside edge shot. Left wing drive wide, he had 1. That was off of a 2-on-1. 1 tip / redirect, 4 net front scrambles, and 1 was an extra. His 33 goals that year were 12.5% of his team's total, 263 goals, which is, I believe, a career low. No, excuse me, that's tied for a career low with 2021. So he's never gone below 12.5% in contributing to his team's goals. 2017-2018, 14 one-timers, all from his office. 12 were a knob side inside edge backward shot. 2 were a knob side inside edge shot. 1 was a knuckle puck. 11 of these were on the power play. Catch and release, he had 13. 10 on the power play, 10 on the office, 2 from his right wing, 1 from the slot. 11 were knob side inside edge shots. 6 were on the power play. Cat Bird he had 6, 2 from his office, and 2 of these were a forehand backhand move. Breakaway, he had 2. Forehand backhand forehand, he had 1. Backhand, he had 1. Right wing floater, he had 2. Both were a knob side inside edge shot, and one of these was a knuckle puck. Left wing drive wide, he had 1. Face off, he had 1 from the right wing, and that was on the power play. Tip redirect, he had 4. Net front scramble, he had 3, and he had 3 empty netters that year. His 49 goals, he is damn so close to 50 that year. Using CCM, he switched back to them at the time. That was 19% of his team's total, 259 goals. 2018-2019, we are on a roll. 21 timers, and that is a record of any pattern in any season. That is the most anywhere. 19 were from his office. 17 used a knob side inside edge backward shot. 3 were a knob side inside edge shot. 1 bounced around players. 1 was from the slot. 14 of these were on the power play. 8 catch and release. 4 from his office. 3 from the right wing. 1 from the slot. Knob side inside edge, 7. Blade side outside edge, 1. 2 of these catch and releases were on the power play. Cat Birdseed, he had 6. 4 from the left side, 2 on the power play. 1 breakaway, no specified move. Right wing floater, he had 2. Knob side inside edge, 2. Knuckle puck, 1. Left wing drive wide, 1. And he shot off his knob side inside edge foot. Tip redirect, he had 5. Net front scramble, he had 4. 2 of which were on the power play. And 6 extra goals. 4 were an empty net. 1 was a non-cherry pattern, and 1 was from his office. His 51 goals that year using a CCM stick were 18% of his team's total, 278 goals. 2019-2020, 15 one-timers, 13 from his office, 1 from the point, 1 from the right wing. 10 knob side inside edge backwards shots. 3 were knob side inside edge. 1 was a knob side outside edge, and 1 of these shots was a knuckle puck. 10 of these one-timers were on the power play. Catch release, he had 6. 3 from his office, 1 from the right wing, 2 from the slot. Knob side inside edge, he had 3. Blade side outside edge, he had 1. Blade side inside edge, he had 2. 2 of these catch and releases were on the power play. He had 6 Catbird C goals, 4 from the left side. 1 was on the power play. He had 1 breakaway this year, which is surprising considering he's 35 years old at this point. Right wing floater, he had 3, which 1 of these was shot through a screen. 3 of these were knob side inside edge shots. Left wing drive wide, he had 2. 1 bounced around players, and 1 was a blade side inside edge shot. Face-offs, he had 3, all from the left side. Tip redirect, he had 1. Net front scramble, he had 1. And he had 10 extras due to the high amount of empty netters. He had 6 that year. 1 was a pass, and 1 was a shot from his office. He had 48 goals that year with a CCM stick, and that was 20% of his team's total, 240 goals. 2020-2021, 8 one-timers, 6 from the office, 1 from the point, 1 from the right wing. Knob side inside edge backward, he had 7. 1 was a knob side inside edge shot, and 5 of these one-timers on the power play. Catch and release, he had 4 total, 3 from his office, 1 from the slot. 3 used a knob side inside edge shot. 1 used a blade side inside edge shot, and 3 of these were on the power play. Catbird seed, he had 4. Office left wing, he had 2. Power play, he had 1. Right wing floater, he had 1 knob side inside edge shots. Face off, he had 1 goal off a face off from the left wing. Net front scramble, he had 3. 1 was on the power play, and 2 extras. 2 were off of a pass, and 1 of these was from his office. His 24 goals that year using a CCM stick were 12.5% of his team's total, 191 goals. Done with that. 1 more paper. Actually, couple more, because there's the playoff numbers as well. 2021, 2022. 9 one-timers, all from his office. Knopside inside edge backward, he had 7. Knopside inside edge, he had 2. And 8 of these one-timers were on the power play. Catch and release, he had 7. 6 from his office, 1 from the slot. Knopside inside edge, he had 6. Blade side inside edge, he had 1. Power play, only 1 of these catch and releases was on the power play. Catbird seat, he had 10. 6 from the left side, 5 were on the power play. Left wing drive wide, he had 1, and that was a blade side inside edge shot. Right wing floater, he had 3, and all of them were knob side inside edge shots. He had 1 breakaway that year, not surprising because he's 37 years old at this point. Forehand, backhand, forehand move. 3 face-off goals, 1 from the left wing, 2 from the right wing. 1 was on the power play. Tip redirect, he had 1. Net front scramble, he had 1. And 11 extra with the high amount of empty netters. And I believe this is a record of empty nets in a season. He had 9. His 50 goals that year using a CCM stick were 18% of his team's total 275 goals. 2022, 2023, and I messed up the graphic there, that's why it looks different. 12 one-timers, all from his office. Knopside inside edge backward, he had 11. Blade side inside edge, he had 1, and 9 of his one-timers were on the power play. Catch and release, he had 5, 4 from his office, 1 from the right wing. Knopside inside edge, he had 3. Blade side inside edge, he had 1. Blade side outside edge, he had 1. 3 of these catch and releases were from the power play. Catbird seat, he had 5. Office slash left wing, the left side, he had 3. Left wing drive wide, he had 1, and that was a backhand forehand move. Tip redirect, he had 2. Face off, he had 1 from the right wing. Right wing floater, he had 1, and that was a knob set inside shot. Did I already say breakaway? I'm just gonna say it again. Breakaway, he had 1, and that was a forehand backhand forehand move. Net front scramble, he had 5, and that was a one of those was a power play goal. 7 extras that year, 5 empty netters, 2 were a pass. And 1 was on the power play. His 42 goals that year with a CCM stick were 16% of his team's total 255 goals. 23-24. This is where he started to switch around with different sticks. He was seen using a Bauer stick and a CCM stick, and also this blacked out stick from my favorite stick company at ProStockHockeySticks.com. They're my go-to guys for purchasing any sticks, so go check them out. Very cheap price, very high quality sticks, and you get a large selection of the curves that the pro players use. So you can definitely have fun with a lot of them at a very, very reasonable price. And that's honestly where all sticks should be priced at, with the quality that they're at anyway, with how much they break. And I don't buy into the tech like conversation that much. Anyway, so he played around with different sticks that year. Let's see. 7 one-timers, 6 from his office, 1 from the right side. Knopside inside edge backward, he had 5. Knopside inside edge, he had 2. And 2 of these shots were knuckle pucks. 2 of these one-timers were on the power play. 3 catch and releases, 2 from his office, 1 from the point. Knopside inside edge, he had 3. 2 of these catch and releases were on the power play. Catbird seat, he had 7. 3 of which were from the left side. 1 was a forehand backhand move. 3 of these were on the power play. He had 2 face-off goals, 1 from the left wing. He had 1 left wing drive wide goal, and that was a blade side inside edge shot. He had 1 tip slash redirect. He had 2 net front scrambles, 1 on the power play, and 4 extra goals, 3 being an empty netter and 1 being a fake pass. His 31 goals that year were a 14% of his team's total 220 goals. So the 24-25 season is to be completed still because the season is not over yet. He has 9 one-timers so far. 7 from his office, 1 from the point, 1 from the dry side spot. 7 of these were a knob side inside edge backward shots. 2 of these were a knob side inside edge shot. 6 of these were on the power play. Catch and release, he had 9. 7 from his office, 2 from the slot. 6 of them were knob side inside edge shot. 2 were a blade side outside edge shot. 1 was a blade side inside edge shot. And 2 of these were on the power play, including his 895th record-breaking goal. Catbird seat, he had 9, 6 from the left wing, 2 of these were on the power play. He had 3 tip slash redirects. He has 1 right wing floater. That was an opposite inside shots on a 2-on-1. And he has 11 extras, 8 empty netters. So he's getting close to breaking a single season record there. 9 passes. 3 of these shots were from his office, and 3 of these were on the power play. This is to be completed once again because he has not finished this season. Now, I have also gone over the numbers for his playoffs. Oh my goodness. I'm actually going to do something a little different here. I'm not going to count the percentage of their goals, and it doesn't really matter too much what stick he used because, you know, it's just all playoff numbers. But I did count all these. So he had 19 one-timer goals. Let's see, let's see if any of the percentages or ratios are different. So he has 19 one-timer goals in the playoffs, 15 from his office, 3 from the slot, 1 from the point, 12 knob side inside edge backwards shots. 7 were knob side inside edge shots. 1 was a distinct knuckle puck. 1 was a distinct bouncing off players shots. 13 of these one-timers were on the power play. 10 catch and release shots. 6 from the office. 2 from the slot. 2 from the right wing. Knob side inside edge, he had 5. Blade side inside edge, he had 5. Power play, 4 catch and release shots were on the power play. 9 Catbird T goals, 6 from the left side, 5 on the power play. He had 1 faceoff goal from the right wing, 2 breakaway goals. 1 was forehand backhand forehand, the other was forehand backhand. He had 4 right wing floaters. 1 was a shot through a screen, 1 was a knob side inside edge release. 2 were a blade side inside edge. And 1 was a distinct knuckle puck. He had 9 net front scrambles, 3 on the power play, 4 redirects, 1 on the power play, 8 left wing drive wides, 2 were shot through a screen, 3 were a non-cherry pattern, 2 were shot with a knob side inside edge release, 2 were shot with a blade side inside edge release, 1 of these on the power play. I'm losing my voice. And 6 were extra, with 1 of these being on the power play. I have also added primary assists, and this is a preview of what's to come in the next paper. So primary assists, this is an indicator of who helped out OV the most. Nick Backstrom has 14 primary assists. John Carlson with 11. Evgeny Kuznetsov has 6. Alex Semin has 5. Unassisted, 3 unassisted primary assists. Victor Kozlov has 3. Brooks Like has 3. Mike Green, Lars Eller, Dmitry Orlov, all have 3. Tom Wilson, Matt Niskanen, Tom Pody, Jason Arnott, all have 2. And Joel Ward, Scott Hannon, Kevin Shattenkirk, Anthony Mantha, Marcus Johansson, Brooks Orpik, Brendan Dillon, Sergei Fedorov, Mike Knubel, and TJ Oshie all have 1. That makes 72 goals in the playoffs for Alex Ovechkin. It doesn't look like the ratios are that much different, but we need to do the final numbers. Alright, I was missing this one. So, who helped out OV the most? I had to count primary assists for this because I think that's a more accurate measure than just using a totality of assists. We know that Nick Backstrom has 279 total, but how many of them were like primary? How many of them were him passing to OV? Now, this doesn't mean that every single play is, contributing of, the player doing the primary assist. But generally speaking, whenever I think of like the primary assist, I think of Backstrom's assist to OV in Game 5. Like, anything like that. Or when you get John Carlson or Mike Green at the point, they are faking a shot on net before they give it to him. Now, there's other factors. You have the screen in front by the systematic play that happens on a power play like that. You also have, things that happen on the 2-on-1 where the player passes too late or too early and it doesn't get through to OV in time. And, hockey at the end of the day is a team sport, and, it's not just coming down to 2 players, but at the same time, this is the most accurate measure of who exactly helped them out the most. It's just how it is out there. Yes, there should be more measures, and OV does a good job of crediting everyone else who's helped him out on this journey. But for what's out there statistically, for what we can see all the time, that's what primary assists are for, and that's what we have to go off of. So I have most of them right here. This is one of the only areas that I did not double verify compared to the totality of goals. So you're just gonna have to listen to me on this. I counted 141 primary Nicholas Backstrom assists. He became the leader in 07-08 and continued that until 22-23 when he stopped playing. And 73 of these, by the way, were on the power play. John Carlson is second with at least 104 primary assists with 3 additional ones this season, and 75 of these on the power play. He passed Mike Green in 2018, and he is still active to this day. He actually assisted primarily on OV's 894th goal. Evgeny Kuznetsov has 65 primary assists. He actually assisted on goal number 700, and 19 of these are on the power play. Mike Green has 49 primary assists with 70 total, and he has 33 of these on the power play. Alex Semin is next at 33 primary assists with 45 total and 16 power play assists. Marcus Johansson has 31 primary assists, 14 on the power play, and he's still an active NHLer, but he's playing for a different team. Tom Wilson is active. He has 26 plus 3, 30 primary assists, 5 of which are on the power play. He actually assisted on Ovechkin's record-breaking 895th goal. Dylan Strome is active with 23 plus 5, 28 primary assists, and 6 plus 2, 8 on the power play. TJ Oshie is technically active, but he's not playing. 21 primary assists, 7 on the power play. And he helped out Ovi on the 30-goal record for most 30-goal seasons in 23-24. Dinas Zubris has 17 primary assists, only 4 on the power play, but he assisted primarily on Ovi's first ever NHL goal. Brooks Laich has 17 assists, 6 of which were on the power play. Dmitry Orlov has 21 assists, 6 of which were on the power play, and he helped Ovi with his 50th goal in 21-22 for his 9th 50-goal season. Victor Kozlov has 13 primary assists, 2 of which on the power play. Chris Clark, 12, 3 of which on the power play. Here's where we get into some other numbers. Carl Alsner has 12. Matt Niskanen has 12, 5 on the power play. Tom Poti has 10, 1 on the power play. Brian Muir, Jeff Schultz, Michael Nylander all have 8. Brian Muir has 5 power play assists. Michael Nylander has 6 power play assists. Mike Knuble, Mike Ribeiro, Troy Brouwer all have 7. Mike Knuble has 1 on the power play. Mike Ribeiro has 5 on the power play, and Troy Brouwer has 5 on the power play. Brian Poitier and Brooks Orpik have 6. Brian Poitier has 4 on the power play. Alexei Protas, I spelled his name wrong, has 6 plus 3, 9 primary assists, 5 on the power play, and he's active. Jason Chimera has 5, 3 on the power play, and that was an assist on Ovechkin's 500th goal, the primary assist. Connor Sherry has 6, 2 of which were on the power play. Christian Juice, Eric Gustafson, Trevor Van Riemsdyk have 5. Actually, Trevor Van Riemsdyk has 6, and he assisted on Ovi's 787th goal to go into second place all time. Jeff Halpern, Jamie Howard, Brian Wilsey, Steve Eminger, Sean Morrison, Mikhail Grabowski, Lars Eller, who's active, Rasmus Sandin. No, that's wrong. Okay, all these guys up until Rasmus Sandin have 4. Jeff Halpern has 2 power play assists. Jamie Heward has 3 power play assists. Brian Wilsey has 2 power play assists. Mikhail Grabowski has 1 power play assist. Lars Eller has 2 power play assists. Rasmus Sandin has 6 power play primary assists, 4 on the power play. Andrew Kazels has 3, 2 on the power play. Yuri whatever, has 3 primary. Thomas Fleischman, Mikhail Jernica, Sergei Fedorov, Matt Bradley, Dennis Weidman, Joel Ward, Nick Dowd, who's active, Andrei Burakovsky, Anthony Mantha, Jacob Vrana, Brian Sotheby. No, everyone up until Brian Sotheby have 3. Thomas Fleischman has 2 power play primary assists. Jernica has 1. Dennis Weidman has 1 on the power play. Joel Ward has 1 on the power play. Anthony Mantha has 1 on the power play. Jacob Vrana has 1 on the power play. He's technically active, but playing for Nashville right now. Everyone who has 2 primary assists, not counting power plays. Brian Sotheby, Ben Clymer, Richard Zednik, Boyd Gordon, Brendan Morrison, Jay Beagle, Steve Valesky, Kevin Shattenkirk, Nate Schmidt, Justin Williams, Michael Kempney, Jonas Siegenthaler, Beck Mallenstein, Justin Schultz, Daniel Sprong, Garnet Hathaway, Connor McMichael, Matt Roy, all have 2. This is a mess. Ben Clymer has 1 power play assist. Richard Zednik's 2 primary assists were both on the power play. Brendan Morrison has 1 primary power play assist. Kevin Shattenkirk's 2 were both on the power play. Justin Schultz's 2 were both on the power play. Everyone who has 1 primary assist, at least. Devontae Smith-Pelly, Pierre-Luc Dubois. He has more than that. Okay, Devontae Smith-Pelly, Brandon Witz, who actually primarily assisted on the goal. And that was one of his only assists to him. Matthew Biron, that was a power play assist. Matt Pettinger, that was a power play assist. Lawrence Nicola, I don't care. Alex Giroux, Joe Mutzko, John Eriks, I don't know. Tyler Sloan, Sam Lepisto, Brian Helmer, Dave Steckel, Jason Arnott, that was on the power play. Thomas Falcoon, that was on the power play. Oddly enough for a goalie. Keith Lecoyne, that had 1. Michael Neuwirth, Matthew Perreault, Matt Hendricks, Jack Hillen, Travis Boyd, Eric Farrad, 1 on the power play. Alex Chason, Brett Connolly, Ilya Kovalchuk, Max Pacioretty, Brendan Dillon, Dylan Macaraz, Sonny Milano, that was on the power play. Vincent Ioro, all had 1 on the power play. And these are new active players. So I guess PLD has 1 primary assist on the right now to Ovechkin. Martin Faravari, who's active, has 3 primary assists. Andrew Majapani has 1 primary assist. That was on the power play. Jacob Chikrin has 4 primary assists, 2 on the power play. The numbers aren't exactly the same here because, again, they weren't peer-reviewed or double-checked the same way that the other ones were. But it goes to show you, once again, still, that there's a lot of players with 1, and then there's very few players with a lot. There's basically 1, 2, 3, 4... 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players with 20 assists or more, and then everyone else after that. Primary, once again. Honestly, the numbers are pretty similar with Gretzky too, and Yari Curry, but all that. The proof of all this is in the game logs, and you have to count them individually, and that is exhausting, to say the least. Same with all the rest of this too. Like, you looking through every individual goal, and then verifying it on who was credited with the goals and the assists, ignoring NHL.com's defining descriptions of slap shot, wrist shot, tip in, all that, because they don't show the damn video associated with the goals. So how can you actually tell and verify? And they don't know the names of the patterns like what we've displayed too. So, woo, we're not done yet. We have a few more things to look at.
Boys. Back to him. They got it! One-timer, let's go! 4-1. One-timer, classic power play, Ovechkin shot. He's not happy, of course, because team is down 4-1 still. But that's 892. 3 straight games, a goal in every game. He got it. That was clean. Good pass from Chikrin. I got to note that Jacob Chikrin got the assist. Look at that. It doesn't even knuckle puck. It goes right through that triangle of Dmitry Orlov's stick. He didn't block it in time. Perfect backup. Classic Ovechkin one-timer. Goals in 3 straight games. 5-on-3. That's how you do it. 3 goals away from breaking Gretzky's record. It's like 5 minutes in. Strome shoots. Oh, it's in front. Oh, he just barely missed that. That was Dylan Strome's goal. He was right there. As soon as Strome shot that, it trickled off of Knight. And I don't know who's getting credit, but that was a definite scramble in front. Okay, so Strome shoots it. It hits off of 3 guys. Oh, Connor Murphy put in Ovechkin's goal. Yeah, he spun around backwards. That should have been Ovi's. Ovi was right there. Wait, no way. There's another power play for Washington here. Oh my God. The Blackhawks still can put out their best defensive group. Because Bedard is not a... Yeah, that was a very clear hold. Chikrin is surveying. Oh! Carlson walked in, had a chance to shoot or pass to Ovi, couldn't decide, and now it's cleared back down. We got 1:05, soon to be a minute left in the power play. Ovi! He got it! He tied Gretzky! No way! Oh, and all the caps are coming out. That is 894. He got 894. Let's go. Gretzky's in the building. We are on 895 watch. Two players in NHL history with 894 goals. It's Wayne Gretzky and Alex Ovechkin. He is waving to everyone right now, bowing to Gretzky. He just tied that motherfucker. Oh my God. 1 goal left. 19 goals in the last 26 games. By the way, he just tied Gretzky, I think. No, he beat him to 894. I think he did it in 1 game faster. Oh my God. Get him into the... Wait, breakaway! No way! No way! Oh! He didn't shoot it. Ovi has 70 seconds to score. Oh, get it! Get it! Oh, Spencer Knight got that. That still got on net though. Look at that shit. Oh my God. Spencer Knight. Another shot on goal. This guy! 40 years old and he's still doing this. He's not doing it tonight. The Caps got it. Unless... Oh, wait a sec here. Hold on a second. Oh, he changed the angle and got it on net again. That was an easy save for Knight, but still. He's out there still. He's got like 4 or 5 shots in the last minute. Lars Eller for the draw. He won it. Oh, Ovi just missed it. Oh, he's not getting it tonight. They're out there. Let's watch. Cleared. I think the Islanders have a good penalty kill. Here he goes. He got it! Let's go! Oh my God! Catch and release, baby! I gotta mark that down. That's a catch and release classic. Oh boy! 8-9-5. And that's like 5 or 6 goals straight with a goal for this guy at 39 years old. That is a prime catch and release. Tom Wilson, I think, got the assist there. That's still on the power play. That's a offside inside edge. Cross ice. What are you talking about, Edzo? Non-traditional. He's done catch and releases. That is his second most potent pattern. He's got like, now, where is he at right now? He's at, for total catch and releases, that's his 144th catch and release goal, his 92nd from his office. That's the 81st offside inside shot and the 67th catch and release power play goal. Look at that celebration too. It's classic Ovi. So, that was a lot. We went through every single goal and the numbers. If you want to see all the individual goals for yourself, remember the video library folder is in the description. You can check out that Loom folder and it will show you every single goal. These aren't just random highlights. This literally shows every single goal. And it cannot be more clear than what is presented, here. You just have to just watch the video on it. The video shows the proof in the pudding. You also have to refer to the game logs because, I'll be honest, I didn't get my information from NHL.com. It is not reliable to just rely on them for slap shot and goal and wrist shot and tip in or whatever, because if you don't show the associated video with something kinesthetic in learning like hockey and visual, but also you have to go out and actually feel it and do it,
you have an incomplete amount of information. You don't know. You're just taking the word for what the NHL.com website was saying. So you have to find the video, and this video's taken a lot out of me. This is the longest one I've ever made, and we still need to make some concluding remarks. I want to acknowledge first what I'm missing and what actually can be added to an analysis like this, because it is true that I am missing total shots. He has like 6,900, approaching 7,000 shots, and he has like 894, 95 goals. And that ratio of 7,000, roughly speaking, if we were to estimate, 12.8% shooting ratio. So we need to establish that. It's a 12.8% total shot ratio, roughly speaking, if you divide 900 over 7,000. And that's honestly been pretty sustainable throughout his career. He's had spikes in like 20, and I think 25 at one point, but it stayed around 13, 12, 10, 13, 12, 10, like, So the thing to establish first is that executing any of these patterns first with an information like that is going to increase your likelihood of scoring within all of these. So the more you do the pattern, the more likely it is to end up resulting in a goal, which at the end of the day is an indicator for success. I got into a discussion the other day, though, that I also don't have the shots percentage for each individual pattern. So what's the shot percentage for one-timers, catch and release, left wing drive wide? Like, how many times did he do the said patterns and, succeed versus failed? Admittedly, I don't have that full analysis. But I realize here's the thing at the end of the day. What are we looking for? Goals. What can we see? What is out there? What always reaches like the highlights? What do we all celebrate at the end of the day? It's always the goal. It's not the chances or the shots. That's important to note, however, because that's the information that doesn't get seen and doesn't get put out there. But again, we have two numbers already to look at. It's 900 divided by 7,000. The rough estimations as to Ovechkin's goals versus shots, 12.8%. So that's basically 1 out of 10 in total shots. Doesn't apply to every single pattern or ratio. But it is safe to assume, though, based off the total numbers, right, that the one-timer, catch and release, and cat bird seat are king. If we were to add up all three of those, one-timers having 205 goals, catch and release having 144, cat bird seat having 130, 479 goals. So over half of his goals are either in a one-timer, a catch and release, or within that cat bird seat, front of the net, inside of the dots on both sides of the net. I don't think it can get any more clear than this, that over 479 goals are like this. That is more goals than like the bottom 99% of the NHL. That is more goals than someone like a Phil Kessel, who's known for a shot and stride shot. And Ovechkin barely even does that, by the way. There's only an arguable 60 to 70 shots in stride. And even then, I don't know of people's definitions on that. It's very vague. They don't use the video analysis. And when I look at what people are trying to talk about with shot and stride, I always see a glide before the shot, and this is the same case with Ovechkin. Actually, some people try to use Ovechkin as an example to my retort for claiming that shooting and stride was very overrated as a shot. And he was gliding for a solid 1 second before the shot was taken on his, even though he was on his inside foot, he was still gliding. And supposedly that is not correct according to shot and stride. So I don't know what people are talking about. That's why I'm very confused. And that's why you don't see a definition for a pattern inside like this, is because it gets too confusing. And actually it gets into even more details, like the shooting percentage total, like the shooting percentage for each individual pattern, like the total shots. And something else that I am curious about too is the total assists that OV has gotten
while doing these patterns, because he does have over 700 assists, and a lot of his assists are off of him shooting and getting a rebound in front of the goalie and the other players like knocking it in. So is that a causative thing for his patterns succeeding? That's another question that I'm going to leave unanswered, and I'm going to leave to the rest of you to look at, because I really hope, by the way, that I've shown you that I have looked really, really, really in depth into Ovechkin's like goals. It cannot get more in depth than this. There is no video out there that is going to look in depth and dedicate over 2 months just looking at hockey's greatest goal scorer and all of his individual goals. But there is more information out there that would tie a bow on the top. We have the foundational data that we need, and that's the goals. That's the end results. That's dissecting and looking back on the patterns that resulted into the things to begin with. And again, I acknowledge that I'm missing any of the data from the shooting percentage in each pattern, the total shots, the assists with each shots. But even then, the lacking data within the shots and the anything else that I'm potentially missing, it does not disprove the point. It actually emphasizes the point, actually, that maybe doing more one-timers is going to increase your likelihood of scoring goals, that maybe doing more catch and releases is going to increase your likelihood, that getting into the cat bird seat is going to increase your likelihood of scoring goals. That's, adding some variations off of it, because, there's not only, it's not just a one-timer, it's also location. Like, he doesn't do it just from the office. He also doesn't just do shots going backwards. There's forwards and everything like that, but he still has the foundation of his knobside inside edge backwards shot. He still has the foundation on his catch and release of staying in a wide stance like in 81. He will get into other times, but again, you need the foundation first before you can get into other variations. Ovechkin has shown that. Success leaves clues, guys. It cannot get any more clear than someone who is scoring more goals than everyone else in hockey history, especially going through one of the hardest periods in NHL history of scoring goals. I don't know how it cannot get any more clear than this, that this guy is he's found a way. He isn't just a freak. And I understand very well that, he's got a freak of a body, that he can eat Subway and Dr. Pepper and Flaming Hot Cheetos all the time and beer and party everywhere. And yeah, he's got a gut on him now, but he's still scoring goals. He's still going into the scoring areas. He's shooting 85, 90 mile an hour wrist shots all the time. Doesn't matter. He set the standard for goal scoring, and we need to follow it if we're to grow hockey. This is the point where we need to learn. We need to look, we need to be humble and accept that we do not know how this guy is doing the things, but it's not humble to say that he's a freak and I can't learn what he's doing. He's like a specialist kind of player. Fuck that. Fuck that right now. Get that the fuck out of your mind, because you're just telling everyone else, including yourself, that you do not want to learn what this guy is doing. And I hope very fucking well that me going through all this trouble here, me taking a shit ton of heat from everyone else who doesn't look at this stuff, I hope that this shows you what I'm willing to do just to learn what this guy is going to do. And I am looking very much forward to scoring a lot more goals, practicing my one-timer, my catch and release, my positioning in the catbird seat, even though I play defense. And there's other patterns I could learn from guys like Makar and Hughes and other players like that. But if this doesn't show you how much it actually takes, little it actually takes, compared to how much other things people research in the world, like on diabetes, like colon cancer, any types of cancers, or anything else that requires years, decades, centuries of research into human studies that it still gets debunked and then falsified and turned on itself upside down. Where is this in hockey? Where is this type of research in hockey? This isn't out there. This is the first type of video that goes over like 90 minutes into one player for his patterns. If you Google search how to score like Ovechkin, nothing comes up except highlights. And this guy won the Rocky Richard. Look at all his accolades. Look at his history growing up. I don't fucking care about that. I want to learn how to score like this guy because he's clearly demonstrated how to score goals in hockey. There's nobody better than him. And I don't understand why people do not get that success leaves clues. And you just look at the guy. So, again, I acknowledge that I'm missing some data. But I haven't seen a fucking single person, like, falsify, or the only closest one I've gotten to is Jason Yee. Like, who has actually looked at this stuff. Daryl Belfry also. Some of the people who look at the conscious mental game, Courses there's another guy, but who actually goes in depth to not just look at the mechanics, and not just look at the mental game, but to look at the actual numbers and see what is factually effective or not. I don't see any of the top gurus doing that. I just see them dicking around with different stuff and being creative, flipping their stick up in the air and whatnot. And that is fine. I'm not saying that that's not the thing to do, but they're also the same people who say that Ovechkin's a freak and we can't learn what he does. That part is not okay for people who want to learn and want to get better, like me and like everyone else. I'm just like all of you who just want to get better. And so, this, I'm okay. This video obviously took a lot. But to say that I'm wrong just for looking at this, or how could you go against, some other people who are not, who have been established for years and decades to this point? This is why. I am looking at literally someone who's going against the data and what's out there right now. Or sorry, not the data, but what is commonly out there right now for coaching cues and single play analysis. There is so much single play analysis out there. It is not enough to just look at a single play. You have to see it repeat in pattern after pattern after pattern after pattern. And people do that. Some coaches do that in the NHL, I assume, for positional play. Okay, why not just extend that to one player? That is all I'm doing here. Instead of looking at the positional statistical, power plays, breakouts, PK, anything else, offensive zone cycles, I'm looking at it with a single player. What is wrong with that? This guy singly, right? And even though he'll say it himself and he'll admit that he's had a lot of help from a lot of people and a lot of players. Of course he has. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't have the finishing touch. You cannot get the puck to the net if you don't have a good one-timer. You cannot get the puck through to the net if you don't have a catch and release. You cannot get the puck through the net if you don't know how to shoot through screens. Cannot, get the puck into the net across the goal line if you don't know where the most optimal physics-based catbird seat area is on the ice. If you don't know where the puck is going. And if you don't have, you cannot play hockey or anything else in life if you don't have a structured foundation. And then people want to add variation way too quickly. You need to have the base foundation in mechanics and then the base foundation in patterns, and then you can add variation on top of that where you see appropriate. We are going way too much into variation, different drill. Look at all these different drills. There are millions of different drills out there, but nothing looks at the foundational base like this video. Like what I've looked at with Ovi. I'll be honest, I don't know if I want to do this again with another player. I would like to. Maybe for a season. But going through someone's entire career, it's needed. We really need this in hockey. We need actually really good analysis. What else did I want to say? Again, it cannot be more clear than this for how much he scored. There's like the numbers speak for themselves. And we'll get into that, but it cannot be more clear than what is actually effective versus what is not effective. Let's do the actual numbers. The final numbers to this point, he has scored 895 goals. 205 of them have been one-timers. 175 of those one-timers have been from his office. 7 from the slot, 11 from the point, 8 from the right wing, 4 from the Draisaitl spot, as I explained earlier. 152 of them used a knob side inside edge backwards mechanic. 42 used a knob side inside edge. 6 of them used a knob side outside edge forward mechanic. 2 of them used a blade side inside edge mechanic. 3 of these one-timers bounced around players. 4 of them were distinct knuckle pucks. And 142 of these one-timers were on the power play. Catch and release, 144. 92 from his office, 16 from the slot, 6 from the point, 29 from the right wing. Knob side inside edge, he had 81. Knob side outside edge, he had 2. Blade side inside edge, he had 34. And blade side outside edge, he had 9. 67 of these catch releases were on the power play. Cat Birdseat, he had 130 with 84 coming from the left side. One of them distinctly was a backhand to forehand to backhand play. Actually, I think it was like 2 or 3. Power play, he had 46 in the Cat Birdseat. Left wing drive wide, he had 66. 8 of them used a non-cherry pattern. That's when he's cutting across the middle. One of these left wing drive wides distinctly bounced off of players. 2-on-1, I put down 1, but this doesn't mean that there were not anything more than this. Distinct shooting through screen, this was 18. McDavid fake, you had 1, as I discussed earlier. That was like its own thing. You didn't see it in any other of his other goals. Forehand, backhand, forehand, he had 5. Backhand, forehand, he had 1. Backhand, he had 1. Knob side inside edge shot, he had 20 with the left wing drive wide. Blade side inside edge shot, he had 17. He had 3 power play goals with the left wing drive wide formula. Face off goals, he had 36. 18 from the left side, 19 from the right. 14 of these face off goals were on the power play. He had 23 breakaway goals. 9 of them used a forehand, backhand, forehand. 3 used a backhand, forehand. 1 used a forehand, backhand, and 1 was just a backhand. And 1 of these breakaways was on the power play. Right wing floater, he had 21 shooting knob side inside, and 1 of these actually bounced around ping pong style. 3 of them were distinct knuckle pucks. 4 of them were shot through a screen. Blade side inside edge shot, he had 3. Blade side outside edge shot, he had 1. Forehand backhand, he had 2. And 1 of these was actually a 2-on-1 play. Tip/redirect, he had 31 tips, and the 3 of them were on the power play. Net front scrambles, he had 76, and 23 of these were on the power play. Keep in mind as well that net front scrambles use a very similar patterning and setup as a Cat Birdseat, but this was called because there was at least 1 shot on nets that resulted in a rebound. That's what qualifies as that. So really, the net front scramble and Cat Birdseat are very similar. And then there were 108 extras. 16 of these extras were from the office. 2 were from the point. 1 was a random backhand, forehand backhand shot. 1 was a random non-cherry. 1 was a random screenshot. 9 of these goals were a pass. Empty net is that should be 65 instead of 55. Penalty shot is at 2. Forehand backhand is at 1. Oh, that's actually at 2. Forehand backhand is at 2. Oh, sorry, this is penalty shots. So he had 2 penalty shots. 1 move was a forehand backhand, and another move was a forehand backhand forehand. 23 extra goals came on the power play. Those are your final numbers. Now, for the sake of an argument I posited earlier with shooting in stride, the most arguable shot for shooting a stride is shooting off your blade side foot, in this case, as I call it. Some people call it inside, some people call it outside, whatever. Blade side versus knob side simplifies things because it means that it's kind of that same language, but you're not mixing your ins and outs. You're mixing your blade and your knob, which would be the stick direction. So it's ubiquitous between lefties and righties. Here are the numbers.
Sorry, I forgot to say how many goals were from his office. If you add everything in my calculations that say office, you actually get 367 goals from his office. 367 divided by 895, that is about 41% of his goals from his office. Insane.
For blade side versus knob side, like distinctly. It can't get more clear than this, guys. Knob side foot, 324 goals in Ovi's career. 1 out of 3 was shot off of his left foot, his knob side foot in this case, as a right-handed player. Blade side, 66. There's only 66 out of 895 goals that are arguably at best, shot in stride. I don't know how it does not get any more clear than this, that it's less than a tenth of a percent. 0.07% of his goals are off of his blade side foot. Those are the only arguable shot in stride foot, because we always think of the inside foot as the shot in stride. That is wrong, because you can glide off of both feet. You can stay wide off of both feet, but then just finish the shot off of like your blade side foot, anchor shot style. This is why I'm saying people need to look and think about their what they're talking about. And I think I'm going to show them this video from now on. Whenever I hear someone talk about like different analyses or things like that, like or like, you know, bring up different topics, and they try to like argue the data when it's simply the argument on their side isn't there because they don't have anything to back it up. Guys, like, the reason this frustrates me is because I'm trying to scream out the fucking truth. And I'm not happy about having to do that. I'm not happy about being right. I really mean that. I would rather be playing hockey instead of like putting out the videos. But there's a much bigger responsibility here for, you know, putting out the stuff, and, you know, actually having that specific joy for this specific problem has given that has been a lot of joy in promulgating this data. But I'm not proud of, you know, having numbers here to back up the mechanics and the patterns and everything up. And, you know, it's relieving, but I know the job's not done. You people have to watch this, and you have to share it with everyone else. This is very, very fucking important to get out to hockey, because there's a lot of stuff that people are just doing wrong, that do not produce the results intended, that are not effective. There are obviously some methods that are more effective than others. Alex Ovechkin is a prime example of success leaving clues. Some things being more effective than others. It is very clear that like a base foundation of one-timers, catch and release, and driving to the catbird seat section gets you over 500 goals in the National Hockey League, at the highest echelon of hockey. How could it not be any more clear than the greatest goal scorer of all time? If you don't think that success leaves clues, I'm sorry, I cannot work with you. You can't be my client, first off. You can't be my coaching constituent. You can be a viewer. I have no problem with you being a viewer on this. You can be a fan. You can have the life with that information that you want. But you in no way, shape, or form have any grandstanding whatsoever to criticize me or anyone else trying to improve their game, trying to improve their coaching, and trying to improve their scope of knowledge within hockey. And to actually go after the fucking truth and make training better. Make this sport accessible to everyone. This is a fucking hard sport, and people are actually trying to learn it. Why not get something that is effective, that has been shown to work, like Ovechkin, and say like, okay, let's dial in our one-timers. Let's meet you at your current ability and scale it up from there. Why can't we do that? Why can't we just pick one exercise or one movement, find a ton of variations, but meet the player where they're at and then scale from there? Why can't we do that? Well, that's how I coach. And if this doesn't convince you to, work with me as someone who actually wants to get better, that I will dig through the damn mud just to get the truth and just to get good information and actually make sure that what I'm talking about is true instead of just, I'm just going by the book. I don't know if what different, different clients and different things that come up. It's in different players, but what's the truth at the end of the day? And look, I don't pound this down my clients' faces. I want to be clear. I'm very gentle with leading them towards this direction. But, if a video like this, once again, doesn't tell you that I am willing to dig through the damn mud just so my clients can get a better knowledge and I can also make myself better as a player and as a coach, I don't know what else will. At that point, this has taken a lot out of me in the 2 months, and I cannot wait to just put this out, let it go viral, because this is going to at least get a larger viewership. It's not going to get the million views that the main video is going to get, goal is going to get. I don't need it to. I just need enough people to see this. So, really, if you made it this far, I want to thank you so much for walking through this. That was an incredible sight. I had so much joy watching Ovi on this. I am so happy I got those live reactions too. And this is what hockey's all about. Now that we have seen how great someone can be at scoring goals, it is time for us to go out and practice that. You'll see that from me. You'll see that from my clients. And I'm going to help out as many people learn to score more goals in hockey, just like Alex Ovechkin. I'll see you guys next time.
Guys, boys. I'm going to sit in the middle. I'm going to take a shot. I'll pass it to you. One touch it to me right away.
How many you got in the bag? Bands? Yeah. I got a bunch at home. One here.
Bands to make good.
Bands to make good. Bands to make good. Bands to make good. Bands to make good. Bands to make good. Bands to make good. Bands to make good. Bands to make good. Bands to make good. Bands to make good. Bands to make good. Bands to make good. Bands to make good. Bands to make good.